My tea had gone cold a while ago, but I didn't notice. I was looking out the window at the gray October sky. The rain tapped on the windowsill like an old clock ticking in the living room. They were like silent friends in my loneliness. My name is Eunice Grimshaw, and I'm 78 years old. I've been a widow for 15 years. Sometimes it feels like I've lived many lives and now I'm living my last one. Quiet and unnoticed, my house in Cumberland is the only thing that hasn't changed. It's a Victorian-style house with 2 floors and a small garden in the back. It used to be filled with Gavin's laughter when he was little, and Alfred's voice and music on Sundays. Now it's just the creaking of the floorboards and the radio in the kitchen. I got up from my chair using my cane. My knees were aching again, a sign of rain. But it didn't matter if it rained. As I walked by the mantelpiece, I stopped at a photograph in a simple wooden frame. It was Alfred on our wedding day, in a neat suit, his hair combed with a slightly shy smile. He was an engineer at a local factory, a man of few words, but dependable. He liked to show his love through his actions, not just words. And he always did, fixing things, building things, providing for us. What would you say, Alfred? I whispered, touching the dusty glass. What would you say about our son now? Gavin was born 2 years after we got married. We loved him very much and maybe spoiled him a bit, but I don't think we spoiled him too much. He did well in school, was polite, and dreamed of being an engineer like his father. That all changed when Alfred got sick. Lung cancer took him quickly and cruelly. Gavin was 37 at the time. Already working for an insurance company and married to Lavra, I thought grief would bring us closer, but it didn't. At the funeral, Gavin was distant. I remember him standing at the grave, tall and thin, with his father's looks, but without his strength inside. When they lowered the coffin, I started crying, and he looked away as if it didn't concern him. That evening, after everyone had left, I asked him if he was okay.
He replied, "Mom, I'm 40. I'm not a child. You can't cling to the past."
I didn't realize then that this was the beginning of the end of our close bond and understanding. 3 years later, Gavin divorced Lavra. She was a sweet woman, a little innocent, and truly loved him. I didn't fully understand why they separated. Gavin only said they'd grown apart. They had a son, Keith, who was 10 at the time. They shared custody, but Keith spent more time with his mother. It was around this time that I noticed a change in my son. His calls became less often and his visits were shorter. When he did visit, he would either stare at his phone or talk about work, promotions, bonuses, and a new car. I was happy for his successes, but I missed the warmth between us. One day, I tried to talk to him about it. "Gavin, honey, we've become like strangers," I said, pouring tea. He looked up from his phone, confused. "What are you talking about, Mom?" "I come and call. What else do you want? Attention, son. Real attention."
He sighed like he did when talking to a grumpy child. "I got a job, Mom. I got a life."
"I can't sit here for hours talking about the neighbors or your TV shows. That's not what I mean, you know." He interrupted. "You've always been like this, always wanting more than others. Dad understood that, but you didn't." His words hurt me deeply. I didn't say anything. What could I say? That I'd worked my whole life as a nurse so he could have everything he needed? That I'd gone without things when Alfred was sick to pay for the best doctors? That after Alfred died, I was the one who helped Gavin with the down payment on the house? No, I didn't bring it up. A mother shouldn't keep track of the good things she does for her own child. As the years passed, I got used to my son only calling when he needed something, usually money, for roof repairs, a vacation to recover from stress, or new furniture. I never said no. Maybe it was my mistake to forgive too much, to give too much. But isn't that what mothers do? Isn't that what I've been saving for all these years? Keith, my grandson, was the only bright spot. Unlike his father, he visited me. Often first with his mother, then on his own when he was older. He helped in the garden, listened to my stories of the past, and brought me books. He was the one who insisted that I learn how to use a smartphone and a computer. "Grandma, you have to keep up with the times," he said patiently, showing me how to make a video call. Otherwise, the world will pass you by. Thanks to Keith, I learned not only how to call, but also how to use social media, shop online, and even started a gardening blog. It's been my little escape, growing roses and writing about them. I have a few dozen followers, mostly older women like me, but I enjoy it. Keith went to university in a nearby town, studying biology. He came less often, but we made up for it with video calls. He talked about his studies, his girlfriends, and his plans. I saw in him what his father lacked: honesty, kindness, and the ability to listen. One day, last spring, Keith arrived with unexpected news. "Grandma, Dad's getting married." I was surprised. After the divorce, Gavin dated different women, but none of the relationships lasted long. To whom? Jenny. She works at the dental office. They've been seeing each other for a year, but they've kept it quiet, never told anyone. I vaguely remembered my son mentioning a Jenny in one of his occasional phone calls, but I didn't know the details. "Is she a good woman?" I asked cautiously. Keith shrugged. "Normal. A little bossy. She acts differently with my dad than she does with the rest of us. Sugar sweet, and when she turns away, she's a different person." I nodded. I've known people like that, one face for the chosen few, another for everyone else. "Well, if your father's happy, ...
he says.
He is, but Keith lowered his voice, even though we were alone. "I think he's just tired of being alone." Jenny's very persistent, and she has a daughter from her first marriage. She's 18, they're like a package deal. I smiled at the expression my clever grandson used. "People get married for all kinds of reasons, honey. It's not for us to judge." "Yeah, but..."
He hesitated.
"They want a big wedding, a very expensive one. Dad said he was going to ask you to help with the money. That's it." I felt bitter, but not surprised. Of course, Gavin didn't call himself. He sent his son to do the dirty work. "Grandma, you don't have to," Keith continued, noticing my reaction. "You have your own plans for that money." I brushed it off. "What plans at my age? A cruise around the world?" I tried to smile. "Money is for the living, not the dead. If your father needs help, I'll..."
Help? Keith shook his head.
"Sometimes you're too kind, Grandma." Maybe he was right, but what else was there to do? Refuse my only son? Besides, I hoped the wedding would bring us closer. Maybe Jenny would turn out to be better than Keith described. Maybe she'd make Gavin happy, and a happy son is all a mother could ask for. Gavin called a week later. His voice sounded strained and cheerful, as it always did when he wanted to ask for something. "Mom, how's your health?" "You're not sick, are you?" "I'm fine, son. My joints are a little sore, but that's age." "Yes, age," he coughed. "Listen, I've got news. I've decided to get married." I acted surprised. "Really? To whom?" "Her name's Jenny. She's a wonderful woman. You'll love her. Smart, caring, a great hostess." "I'm happy for you," I said sincerely. "When do you plan to get married?" He was silent. "In 3 months. I know it's fast, but we don't want to wait." And, Mom ... double quotes. Another pause. "We want a beautiful ceremony. Jenny deserves the best." Of course, I agreed. Every bride dreams of a beautiful wedding. "Oh, and he coughed again. I've been having financial difficulties this past year, renovations, a new car." "How much do you need, Gavin?" I asked him directly. He gave me a number. I almost dropped the phone. It was 3 times what I expected. "That's a lot, son." "I know, Mom, but it's a wedding. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing." "Well, it's a second for Jenny, but she says the first one was a bust. She wants to do it right. Rent the Hilltop Manor, invite 100 guests, live music." Hilltop Manor is the most expensive venue in Cumberland. An old mansion overlooking the lake, insanely beautiful, but insanely expensive. 100 guests? I asked. "Do you have that many friends?" "Well, not just friends, colleagues, acquaintances." Jenny's relatives ... quotes. He hesitated. "Mom, you'll help, won't you? I'll pay you back, I promise." We both knew he wouldn't, just like he never paid back the money for the house, the car, and the vacation. But I said yes, because he's my son, because I hoped this wedding would make a difference, because what else could I do? Okay, Gavin, I'll help. Thank you, Mom. He sounded genuinely relieved. You're the best. Jenny will be so happy.
After,
That conversation he called more often, every week, sometimes twice. Talking about the preparations, about Jenny, about her daughter Abby. It felt like we were getting closer again. I was happy about it, though somewhere deep down I knew he was only interested in money. A month later, Gavin arrived with Jenny. She turned out to be a pretty woman with dyed blonde hair, bright makeup, and flashy fingernails. She smiled a lot, but her eyes remained cold. She looked around the house, her eyes lingering on the antique clock and silver tea set, an inheritance from my mother. What lovely things, she said. They must be expensive. Yes, I answered. They belong to my mother. Antiques are expensive now, she said casually. We drank tea and talked about the wedding, or rather they talked and I listened. Jenny described the dress, the flowers, the menu. Gavin nodded, looking like someone who'd heard it 100 times, but still found it fascinating. I asked if there was anything I could do to help, other than paying for it. Oh, don't worry, Aunt Eunice, Jenny patted my arm. At your age, it's better to rest. The wedding planner and I will take care of everything. I'm not that old, I said. You could help with the seating or… No, it's already planned, she interrupted. Just come and enjoy yourself. As they drove away, Jenny gave me a dry, formal hug. We're so glad you'll be at our wedding, Aunt Eunice. It means a lot to Gavin. Something in her voice made me wary, like she was doing me a favor by letting me attend her own son's wedding, a wedding I was paying for. After they left, I sat at the window for a long time, staring out at the rain. Something told me this wedding wasn't going to make Gavin or me happy, but I pushed those thoughts away. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe Jenny really did love him. Maybe. It was just hard for me to let go of my son, to accept that he had chosen another woman as the most important person in his life. Keith called that evening. How did it go meeting your future daughter-in-law? He asked, with a hint of sarcasm. It was fine, I replied, not wanting to turn my grandson against his father. She's energetic, Keith grinned. That's one word. For it, Grandma, be careful. Jenny knows how to charm when she wants something. I have nothing to give her but money for the wedding, I said. And I've already promised her that. It's not just money, Keith's voice became serious. She wants to control everything around Dad, including you. I'm hard to control, I smiled. I'm too old for that. I hope so. Keith sighed. Just don't let them use you, okay? I promised, but I realized even then that something had started, something I couldn't stop. Like a snowball rolling down a mountain, gaining speed and weight, and I was just watching, unable to change what was going to happen. The phone rang again. It was Gavin. He probably wanted to thank me for the warm welcome or ask for more money. I took a deep breath and answered. It was a cloudy morning, but it wasn't raining, a small win for my aching joints. I walked slowly down the stairs, holding on to the railing. Today was the first meeting with the wedding planner. Gavin had called yesterday, saying that he and Jenny had booked a cab to pick me up at 10 o'clock. Be ready, Mom. Don't be late. Miss Potter is a very busy person, he said quickly, as if I were a child. I wanted to remind him that I'd never been late once in my entire life, not to work at the hospital, not to parent-teacher meetings, not to his school concerts, but I've been quiet a lot lately in my conversations with my son. By 9:30, I was ready, in a gray dress with a collar, a pearl brooch, Alfred's gift for our 20th wedding anniversary, and low-heeled shoes. I looked in the mirror and fixed my gray hair in a neat bun. The cab arrived exactly at 10 o'clock, the ride to Hilltop Manor took 20 minutes. The familiar streets of Cumberland, the city where I'd lived all my life, went by. The corner store that had once been a bookstore and now sold coffee, the park where little Gavin liked to feed the ducks, the hospital where I worked for 35 years. Hilltop Manor greeted me with a grand front, an 18th-century Georgian mansion surrounded by perfect grounds and overlooking the lake. I remembered the check I'd written to Gavin 2 weeks ago and sighed deeply. All my life I'd been saving. For a rainy day, now those savings were slipping away. Jenny met me at the entrance, her makeup perfect, her hair styled in waves, her tight beige dress showing off her body. She made me feel old and out of place. Eunice, finally! She kissed the air near my cheek. Miss Potter and I have already started. Come quickly. I wanted to say that I had arrived exactly on time, but again I remained silent. I shouldn't start the day arguing. Gavin and a woman in her 40s in a plain suit, probably Miss Potter, were waiting for us in the large hallway with its marble floor and crystal lights. My son looked nervous, like he was in an important meeting. He gave me a quick hug and introduced me to the organizer. Mom, this is Veronica Potter, the best wedding planner in the county. Veronica, this is my mother, Eunice Grimshaw. Miss Potter explained her plan, an elegant, modern wedding with some old touches. The ceremony on the terrace overlooking the lake, then cocktails in the garden and dinner in the main hall. The colors would be lavender, silver, and white. Alfred, my late husband, always loved white roses, I said when it came to flowers. Jenny gave me a strange look. We haven't decided on the roses yet, Eunice. It's just a suggestion. Personally, I like peonies better. We went out onto a large terrace with white columns. The view was amazing, a perfect lawn sloping down to the lake with a light mist hanging over it. This is where we'll put the arch for the ceremony. Miss Potter pointed to the center of the terrace. The chairs for the guests will be in a half circle. After the vows, the newlyweds will walk down these stairs to the garden, where cocktails will be served. What if it rains? I asked. The weather around here is unpredictable. Jenny rolled her eyes, but Miss Potter patiently replied, We have a backup plan in case of bad weather. The ceremony will be held in the music room, which was in the main hall, where dinner was planned. Miss Potter showed us the seating chart. We're thinking of 10 tables with 10 people each, plus a head table, for the newlyweds and their close family. Who will sit at the head table? I asked. Gavin, me, my daughter Abby, my parents, my brother and his wife, and 2 of our closest friends. Jenny answered without looking at me. And me? I asked, surprised. There was an awkward silence. Mom, there are only 10 seats at the head table, Gavin finally said. We thought you'd be more comfortable at the table with your friends. What friends? I was confused. Did you invite someone I know? Jenny and Gavin looked at each other. Well, we thought you'd tell us who to invite. My son said unsurely. I didn't name anyone because you didn't ask. My voice shook. And I assumed I'd be sitting next to you, Gavin. I am your mother, after all. Miss Potter coughed, clearly feeling uncomfortable. I'm sure we can change the seating chart. Maybe add a seat at the head table. No, Jenny quickly interrupted. It's already been decided. Symmetry is important for the pictures. Eunice, you do realize that a wedding is first and foremost about the couple, don't you? I could feel my face getting red. Of course the wedding is about the newlyweds, but is it normal for the groom's mother to sit off to the side with strangers? It's okay, I said, trying to smile. I can sit wherever you want. Gavin sighed with relief and Jenny smiled, as if she'd won. That's fine. Speaking of guests, we've made a list, my family, co-workers, friends, a few of Gavin's important clients. How many people are on the list? I asked. 115, Gavin answered, avoiding my eyes. But you said 100. I was stunned. Every extra guest is extra money. Eunice, don't be so cheap, Jenny said, as if trying to brush me off. 15 people won't make a difference. Besides, they're possible investors in Gavin's new project. When the conversation turned to wine, I suggested, what about Lauren champagne? It's great quality, but not as expensive as Crystal. Jenny looked at me like I'd suggested serving vinegar to the guests. Lauren? Really? At my wedding? I was just suggesting it, I shrugged. After all, it's a big savings. Eunice, Jenny lowered her voice, if you can't afford to pay for a proper wedding, just say so. The insult stung more than the anger. I didn't say I couldn't afford it. I simply suggested a reasonable option. Mom, please, Gavin interrupted. Let's trust the professionals. By noon, we were done planning and moved to the restaurant for lunch. Jenny ordered the most expensive wine on the menu right away. I counted in my head how many more things like this I could afford before my savings ran out. At lunch, Jenny became more talkative. You know, on Eunice, I've always wanted a real wedding. The first time it was so simple, town hall and dinner for 20 people. My husband insisted on saving money. But now I can do everything I dreamed of. On me, I thought, but I just smiled politely. And your dress? I asked. Have you picked it out yet? Oh yes. Jenny's eyes lit up. It's from a designer coming from London, ivory, covered in crystals with a 3-meter train. Sounds impressive. What about you, Gavin? A custom-made suit, too. My son looked embarrassed. Well, we're thinking about it. There's a tailor in London, of course. The suit will be specially made. You can't show up in a store-bought suit. Move, Jenny interrupted him as the car pulled up in front of my house. Jenny said, by the way, on Eunice, about your outfit, what are you planning to wear? I have a blue dress. I wore it to a friend's wedding last year. Blue? That doesn't really fit in with our color scheme. You'll have to get something that matches, silver or a very light lavender. And not so, old-fashioned without your collars and brooch. I felt a stab of anger. My collars and brooch are part of me, part of my style. All right, I'll think about it. Don't think about it, do it. Jenny smiled her fake smile. The pictures have to be perfect. That evening, I got a call from Keith. Hi, Grandma, how was the meeting with the planner? Informative, I replied vaguely. Hilltop Manor is a beautiful place and crazy expensive. My father told me that. You talked about the menu and seating. Did you like their ideas? It was, fancy. Grandma, I know that tone. What's wrong? Nothing much. I just feel a little, left out. I'm paying for the wedding, but I have no say in the decisions. I'm surprised. My father allows it. Keith sounded annoyed. He's always been nice, but not like this. Jenny's leading him around by the nose. Maybe he's just in love, I suggested. People often lose their heads in love. At 52, after a divorce and 20 years of living alone? No, Grandma, it's something else. Jenny's a controlling woman. Keith, honey, don't worry. It's their day. It's their decision. No, Grandma, it's not right. I'll talk to Dad. Please. Don't, I said quickly. I don't want to cause trouble. You're not causing trouble. They're the ones being disrespectful. You're paying for all this craziness, and they treat you like an unwanted guest. The next day, the promised cost estimate arrived from Miss Potter. The final total was 30% higher than originally discussed. It was almost all I had left after saving for decades, almost everything I could leave to Keith as an inheritance. I picked up a pen and signed the agreement, agreeing to all costs. Maybe at least it would give me back a place in my son's life. The next 2 weeks went by in a whirl. Jenny called almost every day with new ideas, requests, and complaints. She didn't like the color of the tablecloths. She had to change the menu because of some important guests' allergies. Or there was a problem with the musicians. One day, she called, especially irritated. Eunice, did you find the right outfit? I ordered a dress silver gray, just like you wanted. Silver gray? We said lavender. No, Jenny, you said silver or light lavender. I chose silver, but it's not right. The groom's mother has to wear lavender and the bride's mom has to wear silver. It's the whole plan. You didn't mention that. Before, I said, feeling my anger rising. The dress is already paid for. Return it, Jenny said, and buy the lavender one. I'm sure you can find something suitable in 2 weeks. I took a deep breath, counting to 10. Jenny, I've already spent a lot of money on this wedding. I'm not returning it. What do you mean you won't? Her voice rose. Do you want to ruin the pictures? The pictures will look terrible. I'm sure no one will notice that detail, I said calmly. I will notice. There was a sound like Jenny hitting the table. Eunice, if you really want to support Gavin, you'll do as I ask. I closed my eyes. This was it, the control Keith was talking about. Jenny was using my son as a weapon. Okay, I gave in. I'll see what I can do. Great. Jenny's voice instantly turned sweet. I knew you'd understand. I'll send you links to some good options. 5 minutes later, my phone was blowing up with messages. Jenny had sent links to dresses from stores in London. All of them cost at least 3 times what I'd already paid, and they all looked too young for a woman my age. Low cut, open shoulders, covered in sequins. I didn't call her right away. Instead, I went to the mall in the next town and spent the whole day going from store to store. Finally, I found a plain dress in a soft lavender color with long sleeves and a high neck. It was elegant, right for my age, and the right color. I took a picture of it and sent it to Jenny. The answer came back in a minute. It looks like the funeral clothes of an old nun. Can't you find something stylish? I stared at my phone, feeling my face burn with embarrassment. The saleswoman, standing next to me, looked at me, feeling sorry for me. It seemed like my face showed everything I was feeling. Having trouble choosing, ma'am? She asked kindly. You could say that, I sighed. My future daughter-in-law thinks I should look like a 20-year-old at her wedding. The saleswoman smiled understandingly. I have something that might work. It's from the new collection, not on display yet. She brought out a lavender dress with silver trim. It was elegant, with sleeves that were 3/4 length and a neckline that was normal, but not old-fashioned. It was just below the knee, light and flowing, nothing fancy. It's beautiful, I said honestly. May I try it on? The dress fit perfectly. I took a picture in the dressing room and sent it to Jenny with a quick message. How about this? It took a while for a reply. Finally, the phone buzzed. It'll do, but the accessories have to be silver. No pearls or old-fashioned brooches. I showed the message to the saleswoman. She rolled her eyes. Your sister-in-law sounds like a real treasure, she said. She's energetic, I replied. We have some great silver accessories, she pointed to a display case. I can find something to match your dress. In the end, I bought both the dress and a set of silver jewelry, a simple necklace and earrings with small purple stones. They matched the lavender color of the dress and looked modern enough to satisfy Jenny. That evening, Gavin called. His voice sounded worried. Mom, did you talk to Jenny today? Yes, about the dress, I replied. It's already decided. I bought something she liked. Good, he sighed with relief. She'd been freaking out about it all day. You know, the wedding is in 3 weeks. Everyone's nerves are on edge. I understand, I said softly. Look, Mom. He was quiet. I know that Jenny can be demanding, but she just has her own vision. She wants everything to be perfect. Of course, I agreed. And also, he hesitated again. We were thinking maybe you shouldn't come to the rehearsal the night before. It would be very busy, and it's hard for you with your knees to stand for long periods of time. Just come straight to the ceremony, okay? I felt my heart sink. I was being left out of another part of the wedding. Whatever you say, Gavin. My voice sounded calm, though inside I was angry. Thank you, Mom. You're the best. He was clearly glad that the conversation had gone smoothly. I'll send you a cab on the wedding day. After the call, I sat in the chair for a long time, staring out the window. It was getting darker outside, and my reflection in the glass became clearer, a gray-haired woman with tired eyes. When did I become someone my own son was embarrassed by? A week before the wedding, Jenny threw a party for the bride. I wasn't invited, of course. I found out by accident when I called Gavin, and he said he was busy with friends at the pub because the girls had taken over the house for their party. I felt very lonely that night. I called Keith's number. Grandma, he said happily. I was just about to call you. How are you? Fine. I tried to smile, but he couldn't see it. How's school? It's okay. Listen, I was wondering if you were coming to the rehearsal for the wedding. No, I answered. Gavin said it would be busy and I should just come to the ceremony. There was a pause. Oh. Keith's voice turned cold. And you said yes? What was I supposed to do? To tell him that you are the mother of the groom and that you have the right to attend the rehearsal for the wedding which you are paying for. Keith said loudly, Grandma, they're just using you. They want your money, but they don't want you. His words hurt, even though I knew he was telling the truth. Keith, I don't want to cause any trouble before the wedding. Just let it go on. As it is, it's not right, he said stubbornly. I'll talk to my father. No, I almost shouted. Please don't get involved. It'll only make me feel worse if you make a scene. He reluctantly agreed, but I could feel his anger over the phone. The night before the wedding, I hardly slept at all. My thoughts went around and around about tomorrow. How will I be greeted? Where will I be sitting? Will I have to spend the whole evening with strangers? Will Gavin notice me other than in formal photos? I spent a long time getting ready in the morning, carefully styling my hair and putting on light makeup. I put on my new lavender dress and the silver jewelry. I looked at myself in the mirror and was surprised to see that I looked good, elegant, dignified. At the planned time, the cab arrived. I checked the wedding gift one last time, an envelope with a check for a large sum, tied with a silver ribbon, and left the house. The drive to Hilltop Manor seemed shorter than before, or maybe I was just lost in my own thoughts. When I got out of the cab, I saw that the guests were already arriving on the terrace. The weather was beautiful. Sunny but not too hot, with a light breeze blowing. I walked toward the entrance, my heart pounding. Ahead of me was a day that could be the start of a new relationship with my son and his wife, or the final proof that I was nothing more than a gray-haired ATM to them. I woke up with the first light of the sun. It was a clear day outside my window, as if nature itself had decided to provide the perfect weather for my son's wedding. Against Gavin's advice not to arrive early, I decided to go to Hilltop Manor 2 hours before the ceremony. It wasn't because I was being stubborn. I just wanted to help, to be useful, to feel part of the big day. I booked a cab for 9 o'clock in the morning, even though the guests weren't expected until 11. As the driver put my small purse in the trunk, I looked around at my house. Somehow, it felt like I was leaving for a long time, even though I planned to return in the evening. A strange feeling of something bad pricked my heart, but I pushed it away. "It's a beautiful day for a wedding," the driver said as we pulled out of the driveway. "Yes, the weather is beautiful," I agreed, smoothing the folds of my lavender dress. "Are you the mother of the bride or the groom?" "The groom," I replied. "Oh, you must be very excited. Sons, they're special to mothers?" I just nodded, not wanting to talk about the problems in our relationship. Instead, I looked out the window at the Cumberland area, wondering how Gavin's life would change after today. Would he be happier? Would he find a true partner in Jenny? And would I be able to find my place in their new family? Hilltop Manor was already very busy with preparations when we arrived. Delivery trucks were parked in the driveway. Workers were setting up extra lights. Flower sellers were carrying baskets of flowers. I paid the cab driver and walked toward the main entrance, feeling a little out of place. Maybe Gavin was right, and I shouldn't have come so early. In the lobby, I ran into Miss Potter, who looked both calm and a little nervous. When she saw me, she raised her eyebrows in surprise. "Mrs. Grimshaw, you're very early." "The ceremony isn't until 11:30. "I know," I smiled. "I thought I might be able to help. It is my son's wedding after all." Miss Potter looked at her watch. "That's very nice of you, but we have everything under control. The guests will start coming in 2 hours. Perhaps you'd like to rest in the library. It's quiet now, and there's a lovely view of the garden." I knew I was being politely told to leave, but I decided not to give in so easily. "Where's Gavin? I'd like to congratulate him before the ceremony." "Mr. Grimshaw is getting ready in the East Wing, but he asked not to be bothered before the event." Miss Potter spoke softly but firmly. "Pre-wedding excitement, you understand." I nodded, even though I felt bad inside. My own son didn't want to see me before the most important moment of his life. "And Jenny?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "Miss Malcolm and her friends are in the West Wing. They're getting their makeup and hair done." "Strictly women only," Miss Potter smiled professionally. "Why don't you have a cup of tea in the library? I'll send someone over when it's time to take your seat." Giving in, I let myself be led into the library, a nice room with bookshelves to the ceiling and comfortable chairs by the window. As soon as the door closed behind Miss Potter, I felt trapped, separated from the event I'd paid for myself. 20 minutes later, a young waitress came by with tea and cookies. I thanked her and asked how the preparations were going. "Very crazy, ma'am," she replied. "The bride has already changed the arrangement of the flowers in the main hall twice, and there seems to be some problem with the cake, the wrong color of frosting. Really, I couldn't hide my surprise. The pastry chef is one of the most expensive. Yes, ma'am, but Miss Malcolm is very specific about what she wants. The girl was obviously choosing her words carefully. She wants everything to be perfect. After the waitress left, I went to the window. It looked out over the terrace, where the archway for the ceremony was almost finished. White chairs stood in neat rows, with flowers scattered along the path between them. Everything looked perfect, and all without my help. I decided not to sit in the library until the guests arrived. After all, I'd paid for this wedding and had a right to see how the preparations were going. Walking out into the hallway, I walked toward the main hall, where the dinner was to be held. The hall had been changed a lot since my last visit. The tables were covered with snow-white tablecloths, set with silver and crystal and decorated with flowers that were lavender and white. At each place was a card with the name of the guest. I found my table in the farthest corner, just as I expected, near the exit to the kitchen.